Ever wonder how we actually make all those sounds when we talk? It seems so simple, right? But there's actually a whole lot going on under the hood.
Yeah, it really is remarkable when you think about it, how we can go from thoughts in our head to these intricate sounds coming out of our mouths.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the fascinating world of articulatory phonetics, basically the how of speech production.
It's like the instruction manual for our vocal tract. All the different parts and how they work together to create the sounds of language.
You shared some really cool stuff on this topic, and today we're going to break it all down, explore those fundamental mechanics, and see just how amazing our bodies are at producing sound.
It is like a finely tuned instrument, in a way, all these different components working in perfect harmony.
Right. And the article you sent, Articulatory Phonetics, lays out all the basics. So by the end of this, you'll have a solid understanding of how it all works, the systems, the categories, everything.
And hopefully by the end, you'll be listening to speech in a whole new way.
Mm,
You're really appreciating all the subtle things that go into making those sounds.
definitely. So let's start with the big picture. What's the overall process here? Like, where do these sounds even come from?
Well, it all starts with air, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds super basic, but it's the foundation of everything.
So, like, when we breathe right, that's our raw material.
Exactly. We use that outgoing breath, the air that's being pushed out of our lungs to create all the sounds we make in speech. And that's called the pulmonic aggressive airstream.
Okay, pulmonic aggressive airstream. Got it. So that air is like the fuel for our saying factory.
A great analogy. And
Yeah.
that air travels up from our lungs through the trachea
Mm.
and reaches the larynx, which is often called the voice box.
Ah, the larynx. I always think of that as where the real action begins, right? Because that's where we get the voice part of speech.
Exactly. And what makes the voice happen are the vocal folds, these two tiny little muscular flaps inside the larynx.
Tiny but mighty, right? I mean, they control whether a sound is voiced or voiceless.
You got it. So when we produce voiced sounds like z or vvv or even all vowel sounds, those vocal folds are vibrating super fast as the air passes through them.
It's pretty amazing you can actually feel that vibration if you gently touch your Adam's apple or the front of your throat while you hum or make a sound.
Give it a try. It's a great way to get a sense of how those vocal folds work.
And for voiceless sounds like S or F, the vocal folds are apart so the air passes through without vibrating.
Precisely. So think of Z versus
Mm.
same place in your mouth, but one has that vocal fold buzz and the other doesn't.
So the lungs are providing the air, the larynx with those vocal folds is either adding that vibration or not, and then that sound continues upward.
It does, and it passes through this resonating chamber called the pharynx, which is basically the back of your throat.
Okay, so what does the pharynx do to the sound?
It acts kind of like an amplifier and a filter.
Yeah.
It can change the quality of the sound based on its shape and size.
Oh, interesting. So it can make a sound brighter or duller or richer depending on how the pharynx is shaped.
Exactly. It's like a natural equalizer for our voice.
Cool. So after the pharynx, the sound reaches what I think of as the real shaping studio, the oral cavity, aka our mouth.
Exactly. This is where articulation really takes center stage. We use all sorts of different parts in our mouth to mold and shape that airflow into all the different sounds we need.
And the article talks about these active and passive articulators.
Right, the active articulators are the parts we can move, like our tongue, which is amazingly flexible, and our lower lip.
And the passive articulators are the parts that stay put, but the active articulators touch or come close to like the upper teeth, the upper lip, and the roof of the mouth.
Precisely. And it's that intricate dance between the active and passive articulators that allows us to create such a huge range of sounds.
It's like a choreography for your mouth, right? All these precise movements.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the nasal cavity up there, too, which acts as an alternate route for the airflow.
Right, because sometimes the air comes out our nose, like when we say or in.
And the key to that nasal airflow is the velum, also known as the soft palate. It's this flap of tissue at the back of the roof of your mouth.
Ah, so the velum is like a switch. If it's raised, the air goes out your mouth for oral sounds. But if it's lowered, the air can escape through your nose for those nasal sounds.
Exactly. And you can really feel the difference if you alternate between saying bib and mib. You'll notice that buzzing sensation in your nose for mib because
Right.
that velum is open, letting the air through.
It's incredible how all these parts work together so seamlessly. I mean, we never even have to think about it.
It's a testament to the complexity and efficiency of our vocal tract, really.
Okay, so now that we have the layout of our sound factory, let's get into the specifics of how we actually make these sounds, starting with consonants.
Right. Consonants are the sounds where we obstruct or constrict the airflow in some way. And the article breaks down the description into three main features: place of articulation, manner of articulation and voicing.
Okay, so place of articulation, that's all about where in the mouth or throat the sound is being produced, right?
Exactly. It's about which articulators are involved, which ones are active, which ones are passive.
All right, so let's start at the very front of the mouth. What kind of sounds do we make there?
Right at the front, we have bilabial sounds, where we bring both lips together, like for P, B, and M.
Makes sense. Bi meaning two, and labial for lips, so two lips together.
Exactly. And then just behind the lips, we have labiodental sounds, where the lower lip touches the upper teeth, like for F and V.
So labio for lip and dental for teeth. Got it.
Right. And then moving slightly further back, we have dental sounds where the tip of the tongue touches the upper teeth. Think of the these sounds in thin and this.
And then just a bit further back from there, we get to the alveolar ridge, right? That bumpy part right behind your upper teeth.
Exactly. And that's where we make alveolar sounds with the tip or blade of the tongue touching that ridge, like for T, D, N, S, E, and L.
So many sounds come from that one spot. It's like prime real estate in the mouth.
Right. And just behind the alveolar ridge is the postalveolar region where we make sounds like she, and J.
So like for ship, measure chip, and judge.
Exactly. And notice how your tongue position shifts slightly backward for those sounds compared to the alveolar ones.
And then there's retroflex, where the tip of the tongue curls back toward the hard palate. That's how some languages pronounce R.
And then we have palatal sounds, where the body of the tongue touches the hard palate, but that's the bony part of the roof of your mouth, like the J sound in yes.
Moving further back still, we have velar sounds, where the back of the tongue touches the velum or soft palate, like for KG, and that N sound in sing.
It's amazing how just slightly changing the position of your tongue creates entirely different sounds.
And it just keeps going back further. We have uvular sounds made with the very back of the tongue, and the uvula, that little dangly thing at the back of your throat.
Not many of those in English, but they're found in languages like French or Arabic.
Then even deeper in the throat, there are pharyngeal sounds, and finally glottal sounds made right at the glottis, the opening between the vocal folds like H, and that little stop in the middle of uh-oh.
That's quite the tour of the vocal tract.
It is. I never realized how many different places in our mouth and throat we use to make sounds.
It's a testament to the incredible flexibility and precision of our speech organs.
Okay, so that's place of articulation. Now, what about manner of articulation? That's all about how we're manipulating the airflow, right?
Exactly. It's about the type of constriction or obstruction we create with our articulators.
So, like, some sounds are completely blocked, some are just narrowed, some are air coming out the nose. It's all about how we're shaping that airflow.
Precisely. So let's start with plosives, also called stops. These are sounds where we completely block the airflow in the mouth, build up pressure, and then release it suddenly, like for P, P, T, D, K, and G.
So like a mini explosion of air in your mouth?
A very good way to put it. And then we have fricatives. These are sounds where we create a narrow channel somewhere in the mouth and force the air through it, creating that friction noise, like for FV, TH, SZ, ZH, and H.
All the hissing and buzzing sound.
Exactly. And then there are nasals where we completely block the airflow in the mouth, but lower the volume so the air escapes through the nose, like for MN and ang.
And then there are approximants, where the articulators come close together but not close enough to create friction, so they're smoother and more open sounding.
Right, like liquids like L and R and glides, or semi-vowels like W and J, as in yes.
And we also have lateral approximants, which are kind of special because the airflow goes around the sides of the tongue, like for L.
That's a good one. And finally, there are affricates, which are like a combination of a stop and a fricative. They start with complete closure and then release into a fricative, like for chi in church and J in judge.
So it's like two sounds packed into one.
Exactly. And the final element of describing consonants is voicing, which we touched on earlier. It's all about whether or not the vocal folds are vibrating during the sound.
Right, so voice sounds have that buzzing vibration and voiceless sounds don't.
And you can combine all three of these features, place, manner, and voicing, to describe any consonant sound in English.
That's amazing. It's like a code for breaking down the sounds of speech.
It is, and once you understand this system, you can start to see the patterns and relationships between different sounds.
Okay, so we've covered consonants now. Let's talk about vowels. They seem so different in a way.
They are, in that they're produced with a relatively open vocal tract. There's no real obstruction of the airflow, and they're almost always voiced.
Right, so it's all about shaping the sound with the tongue and lips rather than creating blockages or narrowings.
Exactly, and there are three main dimensions we use to describe vowels: tongue height, tongue backness and lip rounding.
Tongue height, that's how high or low your tongue is in your mouth, right?
Exactly. We have high vowels like the E sound in C, the U sound in to, then big vowels like the I sound in, say, the A sound in bet, the O sound in, so the ah sound in cot, and that very common schwa sound in about.
And low vowels are like the A in cat and the ah in father.
Exactly. You can really feel how the space in your mouth changes as you move between those different tongue heights.
And tongue backness is about how far forward or back your tongue is in your mouth, right?
Precisely. Front vowels are like E, I, and central vowels are like the schwa sound in the sound in cup, and back vowels are like ooh, ah, and
And then lip rounding is simply whether your lips are rounded or spread.
yep, rounded vowels are like ooh, oh, and ah, and unrounded vowels are like E, I, and eh. So just by adjusting the height and backness of your tongue and the rounding of your lips, you can create all those different vowel sounds.
It's incredible how much variation we can get from those subtle movements.
And the article even mentions this thing called advanced tongue root, or ATR, which is a feature in some languages where the root of the tongue is either pushed forward or pulled back.
It's a more subtle distinction, but it can definitely affect the quality of the vowel sound.
This is all so fascinating. It really makes you appreciate the complexity of something we do so effortlessly. And speaking of complexity, the article also talks about the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, which is a really valuable tool for anyone interested in speech sounds.
So why is the IPA so important? What does it do?
Well, as we all know, English spelling can be a bit of a mess, right? One letter can represent multiple different sounds, and one sound can be spelled in a bunch of different ways.
So true. Like the letter A can sound like A and say ah in father, A in bed, and so on.
Exactly, and that's where the IPA comes in. It's a standardized system where each symbol represents one and only one speech sound, regardless of how it's spelled.
So it's like a universal code for sounds.
Exactly. It allows us to transcribe and compare sounds from any language in the world without getting bogged down by the inconsistencies of spelling.
That makes so much sense, and it's especially helpful for linguists who study languages from all over the world.
Definitely. And if anyone's interested in learning more about the IPA and phonetics in general, I highly recommend checking out the Linguistics in Short YouTube channel. It's a great resource for beginners, and they explain things in a really clear and engaging way.
Awesome. I'll definitely check that out. So as you can see from this deep dive, what seems like the simple act of talking actually involves an incredible amount of coordination within our vocal tract.
Absolutely. From that initial breath to the precise shaping of sounds using our tongue, lips, and vocal folds, articulatory phonetics gives us a framework for understanding this amazingly intricate process.
It's like a symphony of movements all happening in milliseconds.
And if we zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture for those just getting started in linguistics, understanding articulatory phonetics is crucial for so many other areas of study.
Right, like how languages change over time, how children acquire language, how our brains process speech. It all comes back to these basic building blocks of sound.
Exactly, and it allows you to analyze and compare sounds across different languages to see the patterns and variations.
It's like opening up a whole new world of understanding about how we communicate.
It really is, and it makes you appreciate the beauty and complexity of human language in a whole new way.
If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of speech sounds, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more explorations into the amazing things happening all around us.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. The next time you're listening to someone talk, take a moment to really pay attention to the sounds they're making and think about all the amazing things happening inside their mouth and throat to produce those sounds.
It's a reminder that even the most ordinary act of communication is actually a remarkable feat of biological engineering.
And that every language, no matter how different it may sound on the surface, is built from these same fundamental elements of human speech.
It's a beautiful example of the unity and diversity of human expression.
It really is, and it shows just how powerful and adaptable our vocal tract is.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of articulatory phonetics.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Until next time, keep listening and keep wondering.
And keep making those amazing sounds.